Welcome back to another episode, guys. So today we're going to be delving into a topic that's becoming increasingly more relevant to myself, and that is the delicate balance between living a disciplined life while not allowing that discipline to push you into a burnout. Now, I think this is a crucial topic of discussion for anybody that hopes to achieve personal goals or professional goals while also maintaining some semblance of mental and emotional health. Now, I think before we continue, it's important that we recap on what self-discipline is. Now, in my perspective, self-discipline is the ability to perform uncomfortable tasks in the present for a far greater outcome of delayed gratification in the future. I also really believe that self-discipline is probably the highest form of self-love that you can offer yourself, because you are not giving into your temptations in the present, but you're in fact looking out for future you. And self-discipline can have a lot of depth to it as well. It really is how we shape our lives. It shapes our reputation, our name, our professional ability. We define ourselves by what we are able to do. And if you are able to do uncomfortable things, then you can speak highly of yourself to yourself. And that is the key to self-love. And especially if you aspire to be a pillar of strength or somebody that can really support or be the foundation for your family to thrive on, or your community that you're living in, it is important that you have the self-discipline that it takes to be able to accomplish things in those roles. Now, it's important to highlight that nobody is born disciplined. In fact, our brain's natural tendency is to the path of least resistance. So no matter how much we practice, we're always going to find and feel friction between what we want to do, especially if it's uncomfortable, and actually taking those actions. So self-discipline really is about building good habits that your brain can rely on in times of need, when you're stressed or when you're busy or when you're feeling down at your low points, instead of having your brain fall back on less efficient or energy wasting behavior, or just in general behaviors that don't serve you. And one of the biggest things that we gain from this is our brain becomes more organized. And when things are organized, it is far easier to keep yourself from stressing, from overthinking. It's like keeping your space clean. If you were to come home to a completely messy house with your bed unmade, with dishes needing to be cleaned, things all over the place, it's a stressful environment. But when you're able to keep things neat and organized, especially in your mind, then you can really keep hold of yourself and your emotions, and more importantly, your sanity. So now that we've touched on self-discipline, we have to shift our focus to burnout. Now, some of the common symptoms of burnout are emotional exhaustion, or cynicism, or a lack of feeling of accomplishment, or extreme exhaustion physically and mentally. And this is something which I think a lot of people now that are going through, especially given that it's exam season, are really experiencing. We go through phases where the workload exponentially increases, and we feel like we need to catch up to that and keep ourselves operating at 100% output for a long period of time. But that, of course, is not sustainable, and this is what leads to burnout. But one of the lesser known causes of burnout can also be over-discipline. If we're too rigid with our structure, too rigid with the rules that we've set ourselves, we can find ourselves almost at an impasse between needing some time to rest and recover and feeling the obligation to stick with these habits and routines. I say this, of course, because this is something that I have very much struggled with for the majority of my life, especially in terms of fitness. It is important to also acknowledge and listen to your body. I avidly remember times where, even though I was absolutely beat, exhausted, couldn't get myself up, I felt the need, the drive to get myself to the gym, where I know deep down I knew it was going to do more harm than good, because it was just going to affect my performance the next day and the day after that. And I was going to feel bad too, because of course, you go to the gym, but now you're not performing well. And then you start overthinking about why you're not performing well. And then that influences your mood. And it's a whole cyclical issue. So if you're also feeling symptoms of relentless fatigue, or constant stress, or a lack of joy and constant anxiety about things, it could be a sign that you are burnt out, and you really need to start evaluating how you can take a step back to allow yourself the time and energy that it takes to recover. Obviously, sometimes it can feel like there is no time to take a break. And obviously, that is something that we have to acknowledge. Obviously, sometimes there are going to be occasions where you really don't feel like you have any time whatsoever. I experienced this very recently too, and I feel like I've almost been in a bit of a perpetual cycle of burnout where we had so much to do at my lab that I was giving everything I possibly could. So my expenditure was up to here. And then I burnt out to the point where I couldn't even get myself out of bed for a solid week and a half, 2 weeks almost. And then I let myself take a bit of a break and then kind of recovered a little bit, but then overexerted myself. So I just kept on bouncing between these two levels of, falling back into my routine for 2 or 3 days and then burning out completely and not being able to even get up or go to the gym or anything. It happens. And I think it's important also that instead of prolonging this kind of experience, it's important that you nip it where you can and just say, okay, if I'm actually feeling this tired, then maybe I just need to take 3 or 4 days, recover, so then I can get back to normal instead of just going at this half speed for who knows how long it would take until we'd finally break out of it. So this is where I want to speak a little bit on striking a balance between these two facets. One of the biggest things that we could do is obviously incorporate more flexible discipline. So that basically means that you're still being disciplined about your scheduling, about your routine and everything, but you are building into that routine periods of rest. You're being more adaptable to the way that your body, the signs that your body is giving you, the way that you're feeling, and knowing that giving yourself that rest will do more benefit than ignoring it and trying to push through it. And you want to think about it too, right? Nobody wants to be a complete rigid wall. Life is not a linear path. There are changes and shifts and turns and forks at the road. And obviously it's good to have a structure, but it cannot be a rigid structure. It has to be a loose framework where you're continuing to follow through with the promises that you've kept to yourself. But if things kind of push and shove, you're malleable. You can adapt to those changes. And of course, like I said, you have to start incorporating more frequent and regular rest periods in your life. This is something, especially if you're anything like me, you hate the sound of, but I think having grown and matured a little bit more, especially let's look at this again from the fitness perspective, I really have understood now that if you're not allowing yourself the time to actually recover and grow, then your training in actuality is not doing anything. Of course, you're slowly going to be building muscle, but if you're constantly tearing and ripping your muscle fibers and never giving them a chance to fully recover, then you're just digging a deeper and deeper hole instead of allowing this mountain to grow. And this is the same thing in terms of academia or professional life too. If you're feeling like your output is subpar, doing more work is not going to fix that. The only thing that you can actually do is take a step back and allow yourself to recover. Have a little bit of mental clarity before you tackle the problem again. And all of this starts by listening to your body's signals, feeling how you're feeling, understanding that it's normal, it's human to have periods of low energy or phases of low energy in your life, and just understanding more about when you can push forward and when you need to pull back. And a lot of this also stems from more self-awareness too, right? Journaling, meditating, keeping a genuine track of your energy levels. How full is your battery on a day-to-day basis? What affects how you feel throughout the day or throughout the weeks or throughout the months? When you can track something, you can control it. And I think this is one of the biggest things that I've learned having grown up to my ripe old age of 26. And I just want to leave also one little practical tip. I think one of the best things that you can actually do to prevent burnout and actually have this balance between a disciplined life and not striking into burnout every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever is more about realistic goal setting. Now, I'm not saying you have to sit there and write down your goals that you want to achieve and everything, but I think even mentally, internally, stop expecting everything to be done so fast. Life is a long game. And I think we can really get caught up in thinking that we need to accomplish everything right now. And that's only going to affect us in the short term. It's only going to hinder our progress. And we really need to start thinking on a longer term basis. The time horizon needs to be not like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, a year. It has to be longer than that. That's how we can truly start taking our foot off the gas and really realizing that there is no rush. It's okay. That's not to say that there might not be rush periods, but they're little and far between. So that is what I have for you guys this week. I hope everybody has enjoyed. I also wanted to say a quick update. Just given the excessive workload for the time being, I think I'm going to be pulling back from doing weekly episodes and going to bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks. This, in fact, is to prevent burnout because I have very much been feeling completely drained of all my energy for quite a while now. And I'm realizing that if this starts to become a chore, then I'm not going to want to do it. And this is truly a little passion project for myself. So I hope everyone understands. I hope you guys still enjoy this. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to having everyone over for the next one. Thank you so much. Peace.